And we're streaming live on YouTube. It's Smooth 981 FM Lagos. We're about to have a robust conversation, bringing you the big stories from the weekend. The major headlines for the morning. You can be part of the show, sending messages to us on WhatsApp 0809 On Twitter, it's Smooth981FM. Please send us tweets early enough before 8 o'clock so you don't come dragging people at the end of the show. But let's get to it. We have Mr. C joining us for a Monday morning. Good morning to you, Mr. C.
Good morning, Victor. Good
Thank you
morning,
very
Lagos.
much. Oh my goodness, I hear the traffic this morning in Lagos is super crazy. Like I shared earlier, I left the house before 5 a.m. and there was already traffic along the Lekki Ekpe Expressway. But let's save that for later and get straight into it from the Punch newspaper now. ASU, NLC plans national protest. Please demand notification. Now, this story in from the Punch newspaper, when I saw it, I was like, the police is asking for notification before the strike will be. Anyways, the NLC has announced plans to commence a 2-day nationwide protest on the 26th of July. That's next week, Tuesday, in solidarity with the striking members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities and other unions and public universities. Mr. C, bring us up to speed with this one.
Okay, thank you, Victor. So, ASU went on strike on the 14th of February 2022.
Mm,
Since that date, they've been on strike, and that is 5 months and counting.
right.
In that period, we've had at least one state election conducted. Now, the NLC has said, in solidarity with ASU, is going to go on a 2-day solidarity strike starting next week, Tuesday and Wednesday. And that it will bring home or drive home the issue that the children of common Nigerians cannot be sitting at home due to no fault of theirs, whilst children of highly placed government functionaries continue to graduate from foreign universities. And I'm in total agreement with this solidarity strike because sometimes you need to drive home a message very strongly. Now, interestingly, the police has said they need to be notified. Now, prior to this announcement, the police had always wrongly and illegally stated that you needed to get a permit from them, even in the face of repeated Supreme Court judgments that said a permit was not required and the right to protest was a constitutional right. Now, the police is saying that they should be notified so they can provide police protection and they can prevent hoodlums from infiltrating the protest. Well, if that is the official reason they want to give, there's nothing wrong with that. Notify them. But at least they're not saying the protest will not happen if you don't get a permit.
But why is the federal government not shifting grounds to meet the demands of these striking unions?
So, Victor, this is the $1 million question that only the government can answer. So, let's say, for the purposes of this conversation, ASU is asking for 100 naira, right?
Mm.
If the federal government can only afford 30 naira at this point in time, why not first offer the 30 naira and then say, look, guys, this is what we have now. But within this period of time, we hope to get another payment in, say, 30 or
But
40
this
naira.
happened already in 2020. Recall that ASU was on strike for 8 months in 2020 with a promise from federal government that we're going to meet your demands XYZ, months, the period. And I think it elapsed. That's why they're on strike again.
So it is clear this administration hasn't gotten a handle on education and its funding. And it's regrettable that just less than 2 years after the initial strike, which went on for 8 months, there's
Right.
another strike. Now, we're clearly in the middle of election season. There are three major candidates, and this is the time to grill them. This is the time to examine them. That what is your reaction to this prolonged ASU strike and the intermittent strikes gone on undertaken by ASU and Labour? What are your plans for dealing with these issues? How do you intend to fund education? And education, we mustn't make the mistake of only referring to tertiary education. Primary school education, secondary school education, what is the plan?
Now, Mr. C, aside governments, the presidential candidates for 2023 telling us about their plans, let's look at these warning that NLC has given to the federal government the effect of the strike NLC is about to embark on for 2 days. We're going to shut down the economy. What's the impact of this? Wouldn't this have a negative impact on the economy if NLC goes on this proposed strike?
Most certainly it will, because the electricity workers of the Union of Nigeria will go on strike. Now, the already bad or poor supply of electric power to Nigerians will disappear for 2 days.
Mm.
So that's going to make the situation worse, and that will place more pressure on getting petrol. And once there's more demand, another artificial scarcity will emerge, the prices will go up, and the average Nigerian will continue to suffer.
Well, let's keep the conversation going. Send in your messages to us on WhatsApp 0809 Let's go over to this story from the Vanguard newspaper. It was a major talking point from the weekend. Osun gubernatorial elections. ICPC arrest 3 suspected vote buyers. We talked about this last week and was hoping we wouldn't have to sit in the studio to look at the situation with regards to vote buying. Run us through what happened over the weekend, especially about the Osun elections.
Okay, thank you, Victor. So over the weekend, on Saturday specifically,
Mm.
the gubernatorial election in Osun State was conducted. Now, in the conduct of the election, there were reports of vote buying, and 3 individuals were arrested at different points in the state with Android phones and lists containing details and particulars of voters. Now, vote buying is not new. Osun State was not the first incident.
Mm.
In the Ekiti election, there were also instances of vote buying, and some people were allegedly arrested. After that arrest, what happened? We haven't gotten any further news. Now, the truth of the matter is, if you're going to stamp out vote buying, stop dealing with the low level agents who are offering the cash and the voters who are collecting the cash.
Mm.
Go to the ultimate beneficiary. Who are they buying the votes for? Why is someone offering money to an individual to purchase his vote? Because someone somewhere is the ultimate beneficiary. So if you begin to hold the ultimate beneficiaries liable, then you will find out that sooner or later the incidence of vote buying will be reduced to its greatest minimum.
Now, this particular election over the weekend saw an incumbent government out of office, Mr. C. Isn't this a little surprising, considering the fact that in Nigeria, as a sitting governor, it's not so easy to sit in office and then, I mean, yeah, the people decide, but see you leave office. The PDP won 17 out of 30 local governments.
So it's not exactly surprising, because you need to go back a few years in Ekiti State. Mr. Ayo Fayoshi defeated the then incumbent governor by winning every single local government in Ekiti State. So this is not a new phenomenon. Now, what that speaks to clearly is that the people apparently are no longer going after political platforms, political parties, structures, and the like. They're going after performance.
Mm.
So clearly, whatever Governor Oyetola did over the last 4 years was not sufficient enough to guarantee a return to office.
I just wanted to throw this in because it was trending on Twitter and people sent a lot of messages asking questions. The place of the Labour Party. They said the Labour Party could not garner as much as 3,000 votes in that election.
So we must not mistake the issues, right? In Osun State, it was the personality of the candidate, Senator Adeleke, that galvanized the voters to vote out Governor Oyetola. So the coming elections will not be about political parties or platforms.
No, but they keep talking about structures.
So structures worked in the past, but I have a very strong conviction that in this coming election,
Right.
structures will not be as important. Now, the Labour Party before Peter Obi emerged was not a party anyone would reckon with. Now, a strong personality joins that party, and you can then see the infusion of activity into that party. So it's going to be about the persons. Now we're shifting away. There's now a shift from political parties to the individuals. You, Mr. Individual, what are you bringing to the table?
All right. Keep sending those messages across to us. Perhaps you want to send them to us on Twitter We seem to we're still trying to establish connection on the portal for WhatsApp, but send your tweets to us at smooth981fm at smooth981fm. We'll take all your comments and reaction as the show progresses. Quickly now, let's look at this one from This Day newspaper. Kyari, federal government to continue to determine petrol prices despite NNPC's transition to commercial entity.
Okay, thank you, Victor. So, over towards the end of last week,
Mm.
the NNPC transitioned fully into a limited company under the Company and Allied Matters Act of Nigeria. So, what that means now, it is no more regarded as a government agency.
Right.
It's now a proper private company.
Mm.
Now, the effect of that would be that the ideal effect should be that it will now be run properly like the state-owned company in Brazil called Petrobras. Now, Petrobras fixes the price of petrol in Brazil, but then you then get interference from the Brazilian government saying you can't do that, and the third executive since 2019 has just resigned because he wanted to implement an increase in prices to reflect the current realities, and the Brazilian president, who's up for re-election in October, had a contrary view. Now, in Nigeria, our own GCO, Mr. Kyari, says that it will still be the government that determines the price of petrol. Now, this is a very sad statement because it shows that they're still refusing to accept the realities we face today. Now, the price of 165 naira was set 12 years ago when diesel was about 113 naira, the naira was about 175 to a US dollar. Clearly, that has since changed. Diesel is now retailing close to 800 naira a liter. The naira is easily 612, 600, 650 in that range.
Mm.
So clearly, the price has to change. And this opaque and less than transparent petrol subsidy has to stop. Even if you can't stop it in one swift move, you have to phase it out. Now, he says he also spoke to increase transparency, that their IT partners, all that is political speak. The NNPC for a very long time has been run in a less than transparent manner, and their accounts are not easily available for scrutiny. I don't know what is going to change now. And because beyond transitioning from a government agency into a company, has the corporate mindset, the corporate culture changed at NNPC to embrace the fact that now, because they're shareholders, they need to be more transparent, they need to be more open with the details of their expenditures. Remember, this year, the Nigerian Governors Forum has repeatedly said they're not satisfied with the accounts and the figures the NNPC has been throwing up, because this year, the NNPC has not remitted a single kobo into the Federation account. Will this change now that it fully transitioned into a limited company? Time will tell.
Well, still on the back of what you're saying, marketers finally hike petrol price to 170 to 190 naira per liter.
It's about time.
Is it?
Yes, Victor.
With all the subsidy that we pay in trillions.
Victor, you pay subsidy to a few fat cats. The reality on the ground is, what is the price of crude oil on the international market? What is the cost of shipping? What is the cost of insurance? What is the cost of legal documentation? What is the landing cost? What is the depot cost for storing the petrol?
But Mr. C, if we pay 4 trillion naira on subsidy, Nigerians do not want to hear that we're buying the product at 190 naira at filling stations.
But think about it, Victor. Every country around you sells it for at least 400, 500.
They are not subsidizing. You're not paying for subsidy when you sell at 500 naira.
So the point is this. Even with this subsidy, is petrol sold at the same price throughout the country? Certainly not. Even in Lagos, you only get the regulated price within the town. When you go to the outskirts, you are not buying it at 165. Now, what they've done is, unofficially, they've added about 10 naira to the price of petrol. And guess what? The queues in Lagos and Abuja have started disappearing, because now the marketers can sell at a price that makes sense for them from a business perspective. Now, if your landing cost is 159, 160, you don't need anyone to tell you that you cannot sell at 165 naira per liter. It's not going to happen. Now, these businesses are profit run enterprises. They're not NGOs, they're not charity organizations. They need to run, they have expenses, they have overheads to meet. And if they are unable to sell at a price that makes sense from an economic perspective, then there is really no point. And I think this is the first step towards a gradual phasing out of the fuel subsidy. Increase the prices in small doses whilst praying and hoping that the economy gets better.
Quickly, let's look through some of your messages. And by the way, you can keep sending them to us on Twitter, and we're streaming live on YouTube. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Leave a comment on the live stream. We'll take it while we try to resolve that of WhatsApp. All right. And quickly, you can head down to Twitter at Smooth 981 FM on Twitter and leave a message for us. Drop a tweet. We'll take it. I have this one in from Mayomi on Twitter. Says, I disagree. Labour won in Ondo and Edo Guba elections. They are not a small party. In a country of 36 states, is Labour Party holding a state in Nigeria at the moment? Do we have a governor on the platform of the Labour Party today? Well, Olatunde says the police are aware of the proposed strike by NLC, and I believe what they want is official notification, which really sounds somehow. T Baba sent that in. Yomi comes in again. It is okay for the marketers to add extra 20 naira, but these must be accounted for. So the 4 trillion naira must be reduced. Taking it over to YouTube, Frank says, please note that I voted for Labour Party in the last election, but when the results from my polling unit, Shangotedo, was read out, all votes were counted for the APC. So sorry about that. Well, I promise you this will not be business as usual in 2023 if we all stay there whilst, the collation is ongoing. Quickly, Mr. C, let me take you all the way to Zamfara State. This is an exclusive Premium Times. Terrorist to get chieftaincy title in Zamfara State. Just to give you an insight into the story, except the Zamfara State government steps in to stop it. All is set for the coronation of a notorious terror kingpin, Ada Aleru, as the Saraking Fulani of Yandotunja Daji Emirate on Saturday. And sources in the district who asked not to be named for safety reasons told reporters that the decision to make the terrorist a chief was aimed at finding lasting peace in the crisis-ravaged Safe and Yandotundaji Emirates and other areas of Zamfara and Katsina state, which regularly is attacked by Mr. Leru and his subordinates. So we've moved from paying ransoms to kidnappers and bandits alike to making them chiefs of certain, emirates in Nigeria just because we want peace in that domain, Mr. C.
Okay, Victor. So,
wow.
Okay, so if Nigeria was a show on Netflix, it will be watched by millions and hundreds of millions. You cannot even think this up, right? And let me give you an update to this story, Victor. He's actually been turbaned.
Already?
Yeah, he was turbaned on Saturday. He had police protection.
All in a bid to have lasting peace in.
So there are many ways you get peace, right? And this is a very interesting way to get peace, because what they've done is they've spoken to him and they say, okay, maybe the best way to get him on board the side of peace is to make him a chief. Now,